Good morning. Well, good afternoon, good evening, maybe good morning for some of you on certain parts of the world. How we doing today? How are we doing right now? What's up, everybody? How you doing today? Isn't it weird that the Portuguese outlets are saying about the Arsenal bids? For sure, for sure, for sure. For sure it is. But how we doing, everyone? How are we? I gotta tell you guys, I am so tired. I'm so tired. You manifested Ekitike yesterday. Did you though? You might want to tune out. Um, you're going to Home Depot. Do we need anything? I do. They're called dowel rods, dowel pins. See if you can find them. 3 millimeters by 16. Thanks, Matthew. I'm not sad. I'm just tired. I did get a haircut. Yes, I did. Very short. Very short. And then I slept on it, so it's like not quite as it is, but I did get a haircut yesterday. But yeah, I'm tired today, man, and whew, burning out a little bit on things. Um, just busy work week. It's nothing really to do with United. Just a bit when you have like a lot of work to do alongside this, those days are rough. So some days are a little bit tight as well. Definitely a little bit tight. Have you liked and subscribed? There we go. Let's do that. Fresh, never frozen, like Wendy's beef patties. Let's go. Okay, we got some funny, got a lot to talk about today. I mean, somewhat more of the same, if you know what I mean. Am I gonna react to Cunha's interview live? What time is that coming? Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna do I'll do my regular weekly roundup live over on Big Up in the morning, and then I'll post it on YouTube. I'll probably cover the interview then at that time. Omar, welcome to the Pro Muppet. Big up, Ricardo. Good to see you. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. So obviously, the biggest subject of discussion continues to be this whole very confusing Gyokeres situation, and a lot has obviously kind of been happening. A lot's going down um, on it. But let's start with just some simple good news. All we're going to talk about first. We'll talk about some simple good news, okay? Which is, of course, it's over, announced with the new kit. Matheus Cunha joins Manchester United, fully announced, pictures, everything. And I got to tell you guys, he is absolutely wearing the hell out of that kit in my mind. Wearing the hell out of it. I think he looks good. He makes the kit looks even better. He looks really, really happy. That's definitely what I got from the words so far, from everything that he's said, from everything that has happened. He looks so excited. He looks so excited to be a part of the team. You know what I mean? He looks so excited to be a part of the team. He looks so happy. He looks like he really, really wants to be that guy for United, and to take responsibility for helping the club get back to where it needs to be. And then he'll do his interview tomorrow. But I really feel like, he's a guy who, I don't know. I just really feel like he's got that mental attitude that we need. And, you know, um, and I think that that's important. I think that's really important to bring the club back, that people are coming for the right reasons, not just the money, not just the money, not because we're in Champions League, but because they want to help this great club become great again. He wants to make United great again, right? That's what he wants to do. Bruno has the same attitude, yeah, and he reminds me a lot of Bruno in a way that some of the things he does on the pitch and some of the ways that he plays remind me a lot of Bruno mentally, in terms of his focus, in terms of how he does everything. He definitely does, and that's we need more people like that. We need more people like that. Um, that's really all there is to it. We need more people like that. And I think we can get more. So, no, it's not political. It's catchy. David sent a gift to the gifted membership. Thank you, David. Stuart, surely the fact it's only Portugal saying about all these supposed Arsenal bids says it all. Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about that. For sure. Definitely. So the main thing is that, the main couple things that I want to discuss are the Gyokeres situation. Yuri Nader joins the things. The Gyokeres situation, all of these bids and things like that. And then Ekitike and some other little things about that. Thank you, Habibi, for all the live streams. Thank you, Alex, for being a part of the membership and a part of the Pro Muppet. Thank you very much. But yeah, let's first talk about a little bit about this piece right here. Okay. What's going on here? Hold on 1 second. Oh, wrong thing. All right, let's first talk about this. And I'm not gonna tear it down, because I try not to tear things down that are news given by other people and things like that. But I've been looking into it as much as possible, and I can't say that I can back it up at all. That's for sure. The interest in Ekitike has been there for quite a long time, though. All right. United have been following Ekitike. I think I first linked him. Hang on. I'm going to try to find something. I think I first linked him to us myself. Not saying I'm the only one. 3 years ago. I had something on him 3 years ago. And we've been following him since then, and he's a really highly rated player. So 2022, I covered it on video here. God, what a nuts time. Okay. And then you get to see my Nunez take as well. I'm just kind of covering it, so I was just trying to find it. But, it was just way back 2022. Schlotterbeck won't happen. Ekitike we scouted, but I've heard determined he isn't ready. The other two plus Nunez would be great. I think that Chouameni and Anthony. Look at the prices people used to talk about Anthony. We were talking 40 million for Anthony. We paid double that. It's pretty nuts. So we were following him. We like him. He's a good player. But the fact of the matter is he's so expensive. He's so expensive. 100 million. And that's, I believe, where we've turned away from it entirely, is just the price. I mean, even at 80 million, I don't think we were likely to do it or be in for him. But at 100, it's absolutely insane. And they're not going to be spending that kind of money on a young player who's had literally one good season. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm not bashing people, because I've watched Ekitike, and I think he's a good player. But I have to admit, I don't like. I feel though that this thing that I feel is that so many people really want us to like. It's like this hipster scouting, you know what I mean? And this isn't a criticism of anybody who really likes these players, but it is a little bit like hipster scouting. Like you want to be the guy who like identify, like I want the guy who's like the next guy, you know. And it's the same thing with Delap because I've seen like most of the people who really like Delap really like Ekitike. Like there's very much a camp of like the Delap Ekitike guys versus like the Gyokeres guys, and I find that kind of funny because I like him. Like I've watched him and I think he's a good player, but he's had one half decent season at Frankfurt. That's it. This is like the biggest risk on planet Earth. Like this is the riskiest purchase anybody will make this summer is Ekitike for 80 million to 100 million if someone does it. The biggest risk. I think Osimhen is the uniting force. Everybody likes Osimhen because, like it's really bad. This is going to be the most the big far and away. This is the riskiest purchase that any club in Europe will make this year is Ekitike for a lot of money if it gets done. Way riskier than Florian Wirtz, who's done it, who's been a better player for sure, even though he's insanely expensive. This is like the riskiest purchase on the planet from the league he's in, from his experience, for so many reasons. He is a huge risk. So I'm not for that. I've said before, when I did that video, remember that video where I broke down what the risk was in buying young strikers? They flop, man. They flop. They do. It's just like you can make all the claims that you want about the quality of the player or how good they are and the things that you've watched. I'm not even disagreeing with you. However, it is again the mental aspect of football and the intangibles that count, right? Those players have a hard time adapting to the Premier League and adapting to the pressure as the main guy, and you can't spend 90 million on them. You just can't. You just can't do it. It would be really, really rough. So yeah, I mean. We'll see what happens with that, but no, I can't really back it up at the moment. And unfortunately, if you do like him, I like the player, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think the cost is just absurd and that makes it a massive risk. I like the player, but the cost is a massive risk. And I think that, that means, anyway, point being, I can't back it up as being a real thing. Now, listen, I just did this. I have this poll running at the moment. Let's talk about some business at a second. 257 people have voted with 87% yeses. That's 223 likes. There's 179 likes. That means that 45 of you are liars. 44 of you are just lying to me. You are lying to me. Why are you lying to me? There's 44 liars in the poll. Oh no, wait, you know what? No, there's even more because the other one says no, but I will now as I click this. So there's 275 votes and there's 75 liars in the chat. Unbelievable. That is actually ridiculous. All I know, it takes as much effort to hit the poll as it does to hit the button like and subscribe below the video. You know that? It's the same amount of effort. It's the same tiny hand motion, all right? Dwayne, all I know is we spent 70 million on a young striker and shit hit the fan. I just need a shooter, Bob Lee swagger settings. Right, I agree. We need someone who's going to get goals. Mike Minnick, welcome to the Pro Muppet. Welcome to the Pro Muppet. I want to know who the liars in the chat are. The liars and the dirty tricks, and the thieves of the world who are stealing my joy. I'm just teasing. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Click Alt F4 to update. So no, look, I don't think that we'll be going for Ekitike. I have not been able to back anything up of substance to it. I think it's far more likely it's playing, getting, Chelsea and Liverpool involved in the situation. You reported the poll to the authorities. Damn. Yeah, well, the Liars of Sporting President. Yeah, he might be in here. So anyway, that was Ekitike. The gap is getting closer. It seems that shaming people publicly is working. Now there's 304 votes and 274 likes. So we're getting there. The Liars, you're maybe you were just a little slow. Thank you for keeping up with your word. In the latest attempt to derail a live Muppeteers fans line a poll. And yes, listen, tomorrow I will do a news section, and then we will have a TTS section. Okay, by the way, for donations, for all your silly donations that aren't real questions, that you want to just mess with me while we're talking. Tomorrow is Friday. We will do that. I really don't want to, but we're going to. And it'll be around maybe 7 p.m. UK time, something like that. So tomorrow, be there for the torture session, the torture talk session live, okay? So there was the little bits on, a little bit of my, on Ekitike, everything I can look at so far. They're not going to come anywhere close to being willing to pay that price. And I think it's being just a bit overzealously overstated, pushed a bit. So that's the main thing there. Now, we have a lot of chaos on this whole, like an enormous amount of chaos on this whole what business, this whole Gyokeres thing. Sorry, I got distracted. So let's see, where did it start today? I'm trying to think, where did this whole business start today on all of this? Warren Roloffs for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much for that. Obviously, in the last couple of days, thank you. In the last couple of days, there's been a bunch of reports coming out from Portugal since yesterday morning. Since the guy came up and Varandas came out and gave his statement and things like that. There's been all sorts of reports. A lot of talk about things like, God damn, stop it. A lot of talk of things like, of offers of, Arsenal is meeting, and there's meetings in London, and there's meetings in Portugal, and there's meetings here, and there's meetings there, and then reports of United are making an offer, Arsenal are making an offer, blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff happening, okay? Now, from my perspective on this, this has been pretty transparent as to, that this is all mostly a tactic out of sporting. And from everybody that I've spoken with between yesterday and today, I can't, again, back up the idea that there are any offers from anybody. It's all coming from Portugal's side, from people close to sporting and all of that. Nothing. I don't believe that there are any offers from us, from Arsenal, from anybody as of yet. But the interest is very real. The interest is very, very real. But let's look. So obviously, there's been this dispute over the whole, situation with his cost, and then a few interesting things came out. 1 second. I'm sorry, my thing's just loading here, so I can share these pages. A couple of interesting things came out. Obviously, first and foremost, we got this from Viktor Gyokeres on his page. There's a lot of talks at the moment. Most of it is false. I will speak when the time is right. So obviously that was, hitting back at, the thing about there's no clause, and that there was worse stuff being said too. I mean, there was something said about saying that Gyokeres called Varandas and was threatening him and stuff like that. Like, there's crazy stuff that has been said out of Portugal. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This brightened my day because now it feels like a transfer window. Now we're getting the drama. Now we're getting the intrigue. You know what I mean? Now we're getting the madness. Now we're getting the fun of the window. And I'm kind of here for that. It's been a little bit too clean, a little bit too boring. The Mbumo stuff is quiet. Um, the Mbumo stuff is quiet. Um, there's not a lot of talk about it at the moment, because it seems like people who do the regular updates don't have too much on it. I don't have too much on it. Again, I've never heard anything wrong at all, like on the Mbumo thing. Not at all. Nothing wrong. Nothing serious. Nothing serious. Um, Nothing meaningful on it, but they're still talking. There are people who are involved in this stuff that are busy with other things as well. So I'm not worried about it. So it's okay, it's okay. Right now, it's fine at the moment. I don't see much in it on that side of it. So this kind of like quiet is okay. This kind of noise, on this deal is not bad. It's fun. At least gives us that something's moving and something happening. And um yeah, it's not about the Arsenal report. This isn't about the Arsenal report. I mean, look, have Arsenal made serious bids? No, but it's not about the Arsenal report. That's not what I'm talking about. He's talking clearly about all the talk about, what do you call it? Like, he's talking about, the thing with the clauses and the threats and stuff like that there. Then what else? Then you've got this that comes out from out in Sweden, Eric Nibba, Aftonbladet, tier 1 football journalist in Sweden, who says his belief is Gyokeres will play for Manchester United next season. And then you've got this. Now this is where it gets really, really interesting. Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting, in my opinion, which is that then there's a claim in here, in this paper, that Sporting are promising that they have evidence in writing, of this promise for the deal that is supposedly on offer. Okay, that they have evidence in writing. Well, not on offer, excuse me. The deal that was supposedly pre-agreed, essentially, is his gentleman's agreement to read. Now, everything that I've heard about these specific journalists, these people here in Sweden, is that is serious work. Like, these are well-respected journalists and outlets that are talking about this at the moment, and that it is a real thing. Give me 1 second. Sorry, let me just take Sorry about that. Duty calls. No. Regardless, what was I saying? Anyway, these are serious journalists who are investigating this kind of stuff, and it seems as though there certainly is a lot leading towards this whole fight. And what I can definitely say is, what I can definitely say from our perspective is obviously, United are very, very interested in this. Okay. United are very, very interested in this. There is no doubt about that. But at the same time, I gotta tell you, God, the phone keeps ringing over here, that so are Arsenal interested. Now, look, Arsenal are prioritizing Šeško. We know that. We know that that's their number one deal. But there is reality in the Arsenal stuff too. There is reality in the Arsenal stuff. And I think we've got to worry a little bit about that to a degree if they don't get the Šeško thing. Now, do I think that it's most likely that they will end up getting, Benjamin Šeško in, and essentially will we have that free route to Gyokeres? Yeah, I do think so. I think that's the most likely thing. But it's serious. There is a real issue there. King Ragnar, are we ever going to get the Mbumo? Here we go. And then that leads me to that another point that I want to make here. Thank you for the donation, little smoke as well. This other question, I guess, that I have, the thing that I wonder. Remember how I said we might move if it seems like... Why are you saying Mbumo off? What are you guys doing? We might move on to something if it seems like maybe we would miss out. You know what I mean? And I think that we're wary of that. I think that we're pretty wary of that, that could happen. You know what I mean? That somebody else could make a move here, and then we will need to hurry on it before anybody else gets involved, or gets serious, or that we have to push it. So I do wonder about that a little bit there. But look, I think a lot of what's going on is being driven by us. A lot of what's going on is being driven by our interest in Gyokeres, in our discussions, and as Fabrizio says, our calls every single day on this. We are definitely trying to move this along, let's say. And so I think it's getting more and more serious by the day. Now, again, we haven't opened up talks. We haven't, started negotiating or anything like that. But I think we want some real clarity. I think we're at the stage. No, I think United are at the stage where they want serious clarity on the deal, on what it actually means. What is the price that we're gonna have to pay? And I said yesterday that I felt, based on my conversations, that it was kind of looking like they want to get something like a Bruno deal out of this, right? That's what I said. That was my understanding, that they'd want to get kind of a Bruno deal out of this. Now, Fabrizio today has said that they're looking at 80 million euros. Well, that's the price. That's the Bruno deal. What we got on Bruno was 55 million euros plus a bunch of different add-ons that totaled 80 million. And I think after all is said and done, we've probably paid almost all of it, but in many different stages, and it's worth it. And I think that is probably where this deal ends. And I believe that that's United's understanding of what is wanted from them, is something similar to the Bruno deal, because I think they find them to be pretty similar transfers. Players similar age. I think Bruno was a year younger than Gyokeres is now when we signed him. Same kind of thing where he hadn't really blown up in a different league, albeit now Gyokeres has done a lot more than Bruno. I don't think Bruno Andrade is necessarily tier one for Portugal. I think he mostly is for Brazil, but he's not a bad journalist at all. But I do think, again, it's sort of like, it's hard with Portugal when they're feeding stuff out, basically. So I think the reality is we're gonna, that we feel they want something similar to that. So you think of it in pounds, maybe you're talking like 50 plus 10 plus 5 or something like that, or plus 5, 50 plus 10 plus 5 plus 5, like just a whole, because the Bruno deal had tons of different add-ons and things that went in for that. And I think it'll take a similar deal, but at the same time, I believe that on the player side, he's trying to get them to honor that agreement, because I think we're willing to pay that agreement, that agreed price. I think that we're willing to pay that pre-agreed price, and that it's a simple deal if they'll honor that agreement. If Arsenal can't get Šeško, I think they're also willing to pay that agreed price. So there's a lot of stuff that, and I think that's why we're seeing the noise on Arsenal. I don't think it's all fake, or anything like that. I don't think it's all fake on Arsenal. I think their interest is very, very genuine in that respect. But obviously they've been prioritizing Šeško, but they haven't got him. So it is something to consider. We have to think about this. We have to worry about this a little bit. So it's complicated. Cunha's done, need another deal to tease me for a few days till the long weekend. Yeah. I mean, this is just a complicated situation to discuss, and it's how it is with Portugal, and we're pushing, and I think we're just trying to push them where we're at now. We're trying to push them to get clarity on the whole thing, and that's what we need. Sporting have received a total. Have they only received 66 so far? Didn't we trigger some extra ones, Ricardo? Maybe not. I thought they received more in the end so far. Like we've paid a couple of additional pieces of the installment, but maybe it's not. But yeah, look, I think we're willing to pay the clause if it exists, or the agreed upon price if it exists, and we want to see, first, will they honor that, and then second, there's different terms potentially on offer that would make it a little more complicated. So, yeah, it is what it is in that respect. It's busy times. United are certainly not sitting still. There's a lot of work being done across the board on all of this stuff. Brentford, obviously, they're losing their manager. He just announced by Spurs. I think that's been a little bit of a wrench in not in the plans of Mbeumo getting done, but just slowing things down a little bit in terms of talks, because they obviously have to be figuring out, like, how are we getting a new manager in? And, and in addition to that, not only how are we getting a new manager in, but let's say they have to pay. Well, it could even be as simple as they'd rather get their manager sorted before they make a sale of 60 million and someone tries to take a bunch of money out of their hands. So it'll go. There's no reason to worry at this point in time. There's no evidence to worry. All signs, every conversation I've had, and all signs out there on the United side are still, confident that in the end we'll get this done, and that there's nothing hugely problematic with anything like that. So that's fine. And those are the main topics right now. I mean, we've talked about sales a few times. There's not a huge new, amount new here. I've said before, I don't believe Garnacho will be going to Napoli. Does Gyokeres really prefer Arsenal? I don't know if he prefers Arsenal, but I certainly believe he would join them. I certainly believe he would join them. No, I mean, I don't think he's going to say no to them. I don't think he would say no to any big Premier League club. You know, do you guys remember Bruno? I don't know if who was around back then to remember this, but he nearly went to Spurs in the summer. Do you remember that? In the summer before we bought him, he was actually really close to going to Spurs, I think to replace Christian Eriksen or something like that. And then there was like a little interview or it's like someone literally in like a car park or something like caught up with him with the camera when we agreed to sign him. And he was like, you know, did you want to go to United? And he was like, England, anywhere in England, anywhere, Premier League, anywhere in the Premier League. I remember him saying that. And it was like, and I remember some people thinking, well, wait, he didn't really specifically want United? And no, the answer was technically no. You know, but he said that he was like anywhere in the Premier League was fine, you know, and he would have accepted any of them. Yeah, he said yes to Spurs, he said yes to other people and all of that. 75 million or 20%. Yeah, I think in the end United will probably have to get a deal done. We'll probably have to do something like 75 million total in euros, but a structured deal will probably work. But no, it's like that's pretty normal. Like, you know, the Premier League, that's where a lot of players in Portugal want to go, and I don't think it particularly matters as to the club. Nunez was a bit of the same. When we had early contacts with him, he would have gone anywhere, and then it was like obviously after the fact it was like, oh, I wanted Liverpool and all of that, but he was the same. He would have gone anywhere. Bruno would have gone anywhere, and I think Gyokeres would go to any of the big Premier League clubs. I think he would go Arsenal. I think he would go United. I think he'd go Liverpool. I think he'd go City. Not that he would because Haaland is there. But no, I'm just saying in general, I think he would be fine with any of that. So it means that it's something we have to worry about a little bit. Something we have to think about is the reality of that being potentially true. And that, you know, we're not the only club presently in for it. And as so long as, like I was saying yesterday, when you have a lie, there has to be some truth in it for it to be believable. And some of the truth in it is Arsenal's interest and all of that. And beyond that, I think things are being played up to be more than they are. But we have to contend with that. Sporting can play us against Arsenal, and we have to genuinely worry a little that they might go for him until they get Šeško and unless they get Šeško. And what if tomorrow it's out? If they're out on Šeško, what happens? You know, well, immediately we might lose Gyokeres the next day. We'd have to be thinking about that. We'd have to be ready for that. If we want to compete for him, we'd have to be ready to compete immediately. And it would be difficult. So, you know, it's complicated. It's a complicated situation. Hi, James, still confident we get Mbumo done? Yeah, I have not heard anything that would make me less confident. It's just time. It's just time. And I think that, you know, people get antsy when there's time, but that doesn't mean, you know, that doesn't mean anything's wrong. You know what I mean? Just because there's time. You know, I think sometimes people think time means bad. Time doesn't necessarily mean bad. So, you know, that's kind of where it stands. I mean, certainly I'm feeling like, you know, Arsenal are keeping their alternatives in mind. Sporting are playing it up, and this is what it's going to be. There's always going to be a lot of competition. I mean, when people are like, just walk away, okay, to what? Like, please explain to me in this market where number 9s are extremely rare and everybody wants one. Because unfortunately, this is a problem of modern football. There's not a lot of number 9s out there. In your opinion, would we compete with Arsenal if need be? I do think so, yes, Samix. I do think we would compete with them. I've said before, I do think we would compete with them. And we would try to win that race if it comes to it. There's no free hits, though. You know what I mean? Delap was 4 clubs, and he chose Chelsea. Osimhen is the most complicated transfer in history. even if we put all our focus and all our attention onto him. It's the most complicated transfer in history. Like it just seems impossible. Ekitike is insanely expensive and being chased by multiple clubs. Šeško is extremely expensive, being chased by multiple clubs. Where are these strikers? Mateta doesn't want to leave Palace, and you're probably having to pay, 60 million for him. And that's not really worth the money either. Like, where's where's the easy route where we're not going to have to deal with complications? I think Gyokeres is probably one of the easier transfers in this sense, because if we can sort it out, then we'll do it. Tevez is probably the most common. Yeah, I mean, there's probably more common. Samu is I think just as complicated. I think because you're going to pay around the same amount of money. He's going to cost 60, 70 million pounds, and he may be a big risk. So I don't think there's some special like easy deal. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at. I don't really see that aspect of it. Like, and look, it's June. We've got time. It's not like we're like at the end of the window or something. It's not like this has like been this crazy dragged out situation. It's June 12th. We keep working on Mbumo, get that done hopefully soon. Keep working on our sales. Keep seeing what can happen on the agent side, on the player side, on Gyokeres, and continue to try to really get figure the details out of what this deal is going to cost us. Make sure the finances are lined up, and then go for it. I mean, when it's the right time. I don't think that's going to be in a few days, unless Arsenal make a concrete move. But I think if it's July, early July, and we make our offer for Gyokeres, then great. Then that's fair enough to me. We can get that's no problem at all. So I think that we'll get there. We need him in by the preseason though, because we really do need to be able to play the way we want to play. Dwayne, whoever changed the academy level development needs to be jailed. The lack of strikers today is all because of these kids turning all the kids to be sentiments. I completely agree, Dwayne. I mean, this is my take on everything. Is I feel like there's this huge modern push in football to make everyone these like all-rounders and not let people be position, play really good in certain positions in certain areas. And it's like this, there's an obsession with the midfield, there's an obsession with like becoming like these, what are they called? I don't know even what the terminology would be, but there's an obsession with making everybody into these like, these all-rounder midfielders that can do everything instead of just letting them, do something. They all need to be like Pep midfielders or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I think it's made football bad. And I think it's made goal scorers worse than ever. I don't even know what it is that they're doing, but there's not even like wingers practically. I really don't like the idea anymore. I've come around to really not liking the idea of the Xerxes false nine thing as our main route. I don't think it'll work. I think it's such a massive compromise. I don't think it'll work. I don't think getting midfielders and doing that is going to help us. Because I think what it will lose is all the dynamism of the Amorim system, and it'll be really slow. And I think that, unfortunately, I think that here's how I see it. I think that the shift in this key moment when we're rebuilding the team is, I don't think it's so easy to switch from like a false nine system to a striker system. I think like when you look at Liverpool for an example, which I liked what they did, Firstly, to win anything, obviously it required Salah being as good as Salah was, and Mane being as good as Mane was, and Firmino being as good as them, and having the wingbacks at an extremely high level. I don't know that we have all of that at this point, right? But it's been hard for them to switch it. They went through some struggles switching away from that false nine system. They went and they bought Darwin Nunez, and and then they tried to switch away from it, and it took them a bit. And I think they're actually still slightly lacking in a bit of identity in the attack in the post-Firmino Mane world, where they built their whole team around it. And I think that they might be due some struggles next year. I know they just won the league, but obviously, Salah's essentially almost become their striker. But they've really had a lot of trouble solving the other positions in attack. It's just that they had such a solid foundation. We're trying to build for the long run. I don't want us to build something we're not going to do in the future. If we go the false nine route, we have to commit to the false nine route. That's the truth. So I don't think we will, and I'm not sure I want us to, because I don't want to commit to that in the long term. I think that it's got a much lower ceiling for an Amorim team than to play with a really, really good striker, a really, really top striker, someone who's making runs and all of that. I think it's an option, but I don't want it to be, I don't want us to build that way when we're, in our rebuild year where we're really trying to lay the foundations. And I don't think Amorim wants that either, considering, we didn't really commit. I get that we kind of committed to it when we bought Xerxes, but it turned to be a joke. Like, that's fine for plan B and C, but I don't want to commit to it. Amorim kept playing Højlund for a reason. He saw it as this, playing with a 9, even though Højlund was terrible, is the route that you want to go. I think he definitely feels that's the route to go in England, especially with how fast the attacks are going and how all of that is happening. I think it's fundamental. I think it's totally key. With the league speeding up and all of that too. The other reason I don't want to see us do it is it's to me, it's bullshit. It's a little bit like it's too much of a compromise. Thoughts on Evan Nilsson, Munoz? I wanted Roger Fernandez too. I quite like both of them, but I don't think they're ready. I think those are like second players, not first players. I feel Xerxes as a 10 makes more sense. I think he can develop a lot there, such as a unique skill set. Also, I sincerely hope Ahmad does not push it up to 10. He's our winger. He needs to be a right wing back. I agree. And I think that, yeah, I agree, Samix, because I think that it's such a huge compromise. We've spent all season being certain we want a striker, right? So we're building all of our targets around a striker. We're building all of our squad around a striker. You don't get one, and you change the way you want to play suddenly. I think this is how we end up doing what we used to, where we flip-flop and we go summer. We change our plans once we're into summer because we've fucked it. You know what I mean? Like, we bought Xerxes because Ten Hag played 5 games at false 9, and I quite like Xerxes. But that's why we bought him, because 5 games at the end of the season and an FA Cup win convinced him that maybe we would do a false 9. And then we abandoned that 5 games into the new season. Like that is shit squad building, and that to me would be a bit scary on the evidence that we're going the right route. If we move Mbumo in there, that means we have to move Ahmad. That means we're back to not having attacking wingbacks. I quite like Xerxes, but I think he's a clear 10. And in a good 9 as a utility tool, right? But I don't want to go that way. Yeah, that's my main thing. Hold on. And I don't want to see us abandon the direction we want to go. And try to switch things off from where we were trying to go in the past. You know what I mean? I don't want to do all of that. I want us to build the team the way that we intended, and I think it's really important that we get a striker, who matches that. And so I think it would be a huge mistake. I would rather get a strike. I know this is crazy because we're already here. I'm not saying, and don't read into this. I shouldn't have said it because now you're going to read into it. I would rather get a striker than Mbumo in the 10, because I would much rather we have Xerxes, much rather we have a real striker, and we move Bruno up to the 10 and buy a midfielder than go without a striker. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather have. I can put it on paper here to show you. I'm not. Again, you're gonna read into it because I just said it now. But I'd much rather get a striker than another starting 10. You know, in that respect. Again, that's not what I'm saying is the discussion. But like this, to me, sorry. This to me is comparable quality wise, and it's balanced and it's still good. Even though I think Mbumo is better, and then you can keep Ahmad out wide and such, you know. And then you get another, and then you add to the midfield, right? 100% agreed. Striker is a must over another 10, right? So like this to me is a wonderful, fantastic, you know, yeah, is he? Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying here. We gotta worry a little bit about Arsenal. Did he tweet it this time, or is it just aggregation from his video? Oh yeah, okay. So it's from his okay. So he's just talking about from his video, earlier. But like this is better to me, and then you can sign a midfielder anyway, right? This is much better to me than like I don't know, man. Like just messing with the whole team and like doing weird stuff like this, and then putting Dallo out here. You know, like this is better. This is better than what we had, but this isn't it for me. You know, that I don't like that, nor do I prefer it to like this, right? Like this is okay, but if you were to offer me a choice, I would much rather, as I said, you do this, you get a striker, and you move that up there, because you can even do shit like this if you want. You know what I mean? Like we have options. I mean, they're all good options. Bear that in mind. They're all fine options. But I'm just saying I would rather, like this still works if you want to go for attack. You know what I mean? This is actually kind of cool. Like this is actually pretty cool. I would actually like this lineup. I think there's a lot better options if you get a striker. Yeah, I mean this is kind of badass, by the way. I didn't even really think of this, but I was just like, this is kind of cool. Like this would be some pretty crazy football, actually. I would rather this than I would if you don't get a striker. I think you start to really compromise everything that you're doing. You start to really compromise, and it's not that I don't like Mbumo more. Like I think Mbumo is a more guaranteed success as a player, but I'm talking about the team dynamics. How would signing Delap have changed current plans? Not much. We'd probably just get Mbumo, and then you'd stick Delap in for Gyokeres up front, and you'd have Mbumo in there, and so be it. So like, don't get me wrong here. Like I like Mbumo more. I think as an individual player, Mbumo is better and more likely to be good. But I think the team dynamics are bad, and I think that that's the mistake that we've been constantly making. I think we will mess up the team dynamics, and you know, I think we've seen this so many times under the Glazers and in past years that we get the good player, but the team dynamics are wrong. And I think that I would much rather we get the team dynamics right than just buy the best players. Because we tried that. We tried Pogba, but we didn't put the best teams or the best players around him. We've just tried this, and I think we'll still struggle mightily without a striker either way. I think it's going to cap how good these players can do without a real striker, frankly. But we're going to get Mbeumo, so it's sort of a non-issue. I was just presenting my feeling on the matter. This is obviously the best. That's obviously the best. But like I said, I think it gets complicated if you lose on the striker, it gets complicated. And I don't really love the dynamics of it once it gets to that point in time. Did I miss something? I didn't miss anything, right? Sorry. Oh, I did, yeah. How would signing... Oh, yeah, I answered that. How would signing the lap have changed the plans? Okay. It's just those dynamics. Like, exactly things like that, though, Ridwan. Like you don't get a striker who's Dorgu hitting all those crosses to. Nobody. Because they're not the positions that Mbeumo and Cunha occupy. Or Xerxes. You know who's Ahmad cutting and hitting it back post to? Who's doing those things? There's so much there's so many ways that we attack that miss if we don't have a real striker. And I think that the dynamics would be a lot worse than what we had. Get a lone striker. Yeah. No, I'm not trying to I wasn't trying to play down Mbeumo, and don't get me wrong in the slightest. I think Mbeumo is a guaranteed success. My point is that I don't think we should what's the word? We can't compromise. That's all I'm really trying to say. We can't compromise. Dorgu crosses would not bend. No, they would. You think of crosses, you think of headers. Don't think of just headers from crossing. There's a lot of crosses that are not headers. There's a lot of crosses that are not headers. My point is we shouldn't compromise, because what I was getting at here is that the reason striker was a top. Garnacho was often at the end of crosses, but Cunha doesn't play like Garnacho. Cunha doesn't sit on the last line. Cunha isn't the furthest man forward. He drops in a lot more. He doesn't make the same runs Garnacho does, and he won't. The reason striker was at the top of our list is that it was so necessary, right? Not getting a 10 doesn't change the dynamics of what we were trying to build, because we have other options. Not getting a 9 completely changes the dynamics. We can't miss on a 9. I guess that's my point. We must get a striker in this summer. I'm dead certain of it, because going back on all the things I've said, like I said, I changed my mind on this a few times, because my thought was the whole season of preparation, this game model, Amorim, the way that we're going, the way that we're doing it, all of that is so much towards a very specific thing and a way that we want to play, right? I'm not saying we didn't want in Mbeumo. I'm not saying that Mbeumo isn't going to be hugely influential. Mbeumo and Cunha alone are going to increase us 20 goals. They're not going to make us elite without a striker. You're right, a lot of chances fall to our 10s, but that's mostly because our striker was so bad. It's mostly because our striker was so bad. And I've talked about Mbeumo, and when you look into Mbeumo, it's not just the goals, it's the creativity that he provides. You're totally right. Who was he creating for? Well, Wissa. Wissa scored a lot of goals off of Mbeumo, a lot of crosses, a lot of balls into the box from Mbeumo. We know Ahmad is really good at getting to the line and cutting it back and things like that too. We know Dorgu is able to hit a lot of hard crosses into the box, low crosses, things like that. Our number 9 was non-existent, so there were no chances for the number 9. We can't get into Champions League without a striker. We won't have enough. I do think that Cunha and and Mbeumo move us well up the table. And I guess my point is we needed all of them, right? We do need all of them, but it would be more damaging to miss on a 9 because it would require us to change the way we want to play. Does that make sense? Like, we don't have to. If we didn't get Mbeumo, we wouldn't have to change the way that we want to play. If we don't get a striker, we do have to change the way we want to play. That is a bit problematic to me. And that's why I'm very worried about that. I'm more worried about us missing on a striker. We won't miss on Mbeumo, and we're going to get him. But we really can't afford to miss on a striker, or it's going to set us back a year, frankly. That's how I see it. I think it makes the difference between us getting from, being a team that is competitive in top 5 and almost like guaranteeing, that Europa League level to a team that can actually potentially compete in that Champions League level. Arsenal finished second without a striker. They won't finish second this season without a striker. I mean, it was a really down year for City and stuff as well. But they're also 5 years into Arteta's rebuild. They have a better back line. They have a better midfield. And they have a different way of playing, which is, a 4-3-3, essentially. We need more. We need a striker more than they do for the way we want to play. They're different systems. Yeah, of course we need Mbeumo and a striker, but Mbeumo Bruno creating from the right 10 wouldn't have changed things that much, or Ahmad creating from the right 10 wouldn't have changed things that much. But we have nobody who can do what a real number 9 does. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. So, yeah. I wouldn't say the best teams in the world play without a striker. You're really just talking about PSG, but even then, it's not like Dembele haven't done it. Madrid, does Mbappe not exist? Does he not exist? No, I completely disagree with that assessment of top teams and how they play. That I disagree with. I don't think that most teams play without a striker. But you're also talking about different systems. Barcelona have Lewandowski. Mbappe exists. He's real. Inter got to the final with a striker. Plenty of teams have it. And at the same time, like, Arsenal lost the league because they didn't have a striker. So it's not like the same thing. And they also have a lot of good forwards as well. Of course, there's no doubt about that. But saying like Liverpool don't have a striker is not true in my opinion either. Osimhen is the best option, cheapest too. He's not the cheapest though when you factor everything in. Like, I wouldn't even call it true. I wouldn't say it's even true that they don't have a striker, I mean, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, they've all played in pretty central areas at many different times. But again, you also have to compare the systems. They're playing in 3-man midfields, where they're getting all the way in there. The dynamics are very, very different for all of these things. At the same time, it's sort of a funny thing because you're saying the best teams all don't have a striker except like Madrid. Mbappe exists, and you're saying that the problem is he doesn't play as a striker. So like, are you not like getting the point? If the problem with Mbappe is that he's not playing as a striker, then doesn't that tell you that they need a striker? Most of the teams that are really good, I don't care about the Champions League. We don't fucking play every week in the Champions League. The Champions League has never been the model to success. Okay, the Champions League has never been the model since Sir Alex was here to consistent success. We were never the best team in the Champions League. Champions League teams can be fucking weird. There's so many weird teams that win the Champions League. We don't play in the Champions League. We are a Premier League team, okay? In the Premier League, more often than not, 90% of the time, it is teams that have good strikers that win, and it has been for 20 years. The majority of them have won with very, very good strikers, you know? So we don't play in those leagues. We've never had a good league season. Yeah, exactly. We've never had a good league season without a striker near 20 goals. That is totally correct. You know, Madrid just happened to have 3-4 of the best strikers in the world, and or forwards in the world, and you still will say that they probably could have done better if they actually had somebody playing more as a traditional 9. In fact, they won a lot more. You can use the Vinicius, Rodrigo, Jude example of them winning, but I could use the time they won 3 times in a row with Cristiano Ronaldo at 9, and him transitioning to the 9 was Madrid's best period by far. So you can use like little offshoots and things like that. They won 3 times in a row with Cristiano Ronaldo at number 9. Okay? So don't give me the strikers aren't important thing. There's ways you can get around it, but Madrid actually had a bad season. Benzema as well, Cristiano and Benzema, they had 2 of the best strikers ever, you know, working together at different times. So the last one was because of Benzema, you're right. But, you know, either way, you had both of them at striker for like fucking 10 straight years between the 2 of them. They swapped back and forth, but they were both capable of being strikers at many different times. So yeah, look, we play in the Premier League. And again, if you go through most of the seasons of teams who've won the Premier League, you will find top strikers. I mean, City just won the treble with Haaland. That was the thing that took them to Champions League success, was adding Haaland to their team. Aguero won them like 5 leagues, okay? Like, come on. Is Ekitike a genuine target or simply a briefing? Not neither, really. He's someone that they're interested in, but I cannot say that there's much in it at this point in time. Anyway, the argument that strikers aren't important is like the wokest of nonsense, like what we were just talking about. It's so weird. It's such a weird modern take that is totally not true. Number 9s bring you a level of consistency, and again, there's a reason that Liverpool have been trying to get a number 9 in. There's a reason they even paid so much money for Nunez. It just hasn't worked out. Just because, you know, they've gone through it. There's a reason Arsenal want a number 9. There's a reason Tottenham paid a lot for a number 9. There's a reason Chelsea are buying a bunch of number 9s. You know what I mean? Like, do you want strikers? Teams want strikers. Everybody wants a striker. You know, the fact of the matter is that there's a dearth of number 9s in football, and this has led to teams having to figure out alternative solutions to the problem with not having number 9s, and you're confusing the causation and the correlation on these things. Everybody wants a striker. It's the fact that a lot of teams have not been able to get good ones that has resulted in them trying to do other things that doesn't make it the optimum way to play. Cristiano absolutely moved into a striker role through his career at certain points. There's no doubt about it. He absolutely transitioned from a winger to a more central player at certain point in times. That's just a fact. Jean Duran on loan, maybe. I mean, I would take him on loan, but you know, who cares? You know. What is this? Oh no, that's just some nonsense. Okay. Good Lord, that's expensive. So yeah, look, the number 9 is important. I mean, I liked Amram's first iteration of his team, but his one with Gyokeres is definitely the one where he feels like he more perfected how it worked. And I would tend to agree with that. The poll method is working a treat. Yeah, it is. It is. Why do only half the people? I don't know. I mean, We still have a lot of liars. 742 votes and only 609 likes. Now let's see. 130 people. If Gyökeres wants Arsenal, we stand 0 chance. Well, they're going for Šeško. There absolutely are strikers in modern football. I don't know where there's 100% strikers in modern football. The most successful team of the last 10 years is in the Premier League is Manchester City. They went one season without a striker. They had Aguero and they transitioned into Erling Haaland. These are strikers. These are number 9s. Strikers exist. The striker erasure will not stand. The striker erasure is bullshit. There are strikers. The problem is there's not enough of them, but there should be a lot more. There should be a lot more. You can see Amarim isn't playing how he wants. Watch Sporting. 100%. And that's the point I've always make. Having a 9 who really, really runs in an attack that is really aggressive is how he wants to play. But we haven't been able to do that because we don't have the players to do it. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Ollie Watkins is a striker. Wissa is absolutely a striker. Mateta is a striker. Strand Larsen, striker. Pretty much every team in the Premier League has a striker. It's really just Arsenal who don't and Liverpool who don't, but they have the benefit of having built up the rest of their team really well in the meantime. And they're both looking for strikers. So, strikers are real. Isak is insane. And he's a fully well-rounded number 9. And maybe the best in the league right now. Everybody's got strikers, man. Strikers exist. It's just, again, there's not enough of the top level ones for all the top teams, but they all would like them. PSG bought Gonzalo Ramos, a year ago, 2 years ago, to try to get the strikers thing in there. He just hasn't worked out exactly for them. But, Vlahovic went to Juventus. There's a hell of a lot of strikers. You're allegedly a striker. It gets mean when you're role playing. It's mean. It's mean. It's just mean. So anyway, yeah, a lot of chaos at the moment. Are you worried about the height that our team is going to be potentially? Nah, we got plenty. Cunha's not small, and Mbumo's a bit small. We get a decent-sized striker. That's good. That'll be good. Allegedly. You watch the trailer for Spaceballs too. Very nice. But yeah, look. Like I said, just recapping. It's all about this Gyökeres craziness going on right now. The Ekitike stuff, I think, is being pushed past where it should be. Anyway, that Ekitike stuff has pushed back where pushed further than where it really is beyond. It's just interest. I think it's being played up a bit. Really, really active on Gyökeres, where I think that a big part of what's going on is us pushing, to have this thing understandable, to have this thing clarified, to have the whole situation to be sorted, to know. I think we would be willing to pay the fee. I don't think we can yet, because financially we need to make sales and things, but I think we'd be willing to pay the fee that was previously agreed, and we want to know if that's still possible. Otherwise, right now, as far as I know, the word is, they're wanting something closer to like the Bruno deal. And what else? Obviously there's reality to the Arsenal stuff, but I don't think any offers and things like that as of yet. But that is something to worry about, and we'll have to see in the coming days what happens with Arsenal, Šeško. Do they go there? Do they end up moving stronger for Gyökeres or not? I'm gonna end it here, and I will be back tomorrow. I got 2 things to do. I'm gonna do a live on the whole week of news in the morning, and then And that'll be posted on YouTube. And then around midday my time, 7 p.m. UK, I will do another live, and we'll have TTS on and all of that. Yeah. No, I think they'll end up going for Sheshko in the end too, but still. So tomorrow, the live news recap over on Big Up and then on YouTube, and then I'll be live at around 7 p.m. and we'll turn that on. Okay. Thank you all, and I will